Be recorded.
Good morning. Friday morning, May 22nd, 8 a.m. This is the Harwich Board of Water Commissioners meeting. There's a little housekeeping duties before we get started. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the town of Harwich. The board is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public adequately access to proceedings as provided for in the order. 1, a reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may do so by or it's specified remote access as instruction, or 2, despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the city, the town's website as soon as we are able. All right. At this point, we do a roll call vote. Who's here? Gary?
Here.
Judith? Judith?
Here.
And myself, Alan, here. Also on screen is Superintendent of Water, Dan Pelletier. Dan?
Good morning.
All right, so we're ready to go, I believe. And the first order of business is to approve the minutes of February 19th regular session and the March 6th, 2020 session. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Been moved.
I'll second that.
All right. Gary, how do you vote?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Unanimous vote. 10 minutes. All right. Okay, next is the abatements. This is fiscal year 20 third quarter internal adjustments. We have need a motion. Let's catch up with them. In the amount of the internal adjustment in the amount of $677.58.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, unanimous vote. All right. Then fiscal year 20 quarterly, third quarter water department usage in the amount of $1,250.28. We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Yes.
If I may jump in, just with these, if the motion could also include either to authorize the chair to sign, or if the commission would like to come in individually and sign.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to sign at this time.
I'll second that.
All right. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Yes, I can do that this time. Okay, so we have approved on the abatement. All right. And, okay, we get into 103 Gray Neck Road. This is a meter that wasn't operating properly. And, there's a water bill of $1,308.69. Leslie, are you on?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, this is Leslie.
Could you go over this with us, please?
Sure. Every once in a while, we have a meter that would not work. It stops registering usage. This particular account, we changed the meter in 2014, and it came to our attention after we were doing an audit of accounts that this was coming up as zero usage. So we contacted the owner, and he did verify that the property was in use. So we scheduled an appointment, but due to coronavirus, we actually could not go in to change the meter. But since he did verify usage, we suspect that it is now not registering. So we explained the procedures that we use to account for all of the years, in this case, since 2017, that we have not been charging for usage. So we calculated based on the best available data that we had for actual readings prior to 2017 in order to calculate for the years of no use. We issued the bill to him, and it came out to the amount that he is requesting. So he explained that since 2017, he had been renting the property prior to that year, but since then, it has not been rented out, so he feels that the estimation is too high. The property does have irrigation, but, you know, as with every estimation, it's difficult for us to know whether, you know, it's a little too high, a little too low. I mean, that's the nature of estimation. So we explained that to him, but, you know, due to the property not being rented according to him from 2017, you know, we would be unable to obviously verify the estimations that we calculated.
Okay, questions?
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Judith.
No, you go ahead, Gary.
So it looks like they're willing to pay half of the $1308.69.
That's what they're asking for.
And you got the $1308.69 by estimating previous usage?
That's right. We estimate based on actual prior readings, and we usually sample between like 3 to 4 years worth, so that we can have a healthy segment of usage to find the estimation for the last years.
And the homeowner is saying that it wasn't in use for it was only occupied for 60 days?
Well, because we suspect the meter stopped registering in 2017,
Right.
the property had been rented, but he had expressed to us that that's exactly when he stopped renting it.
Right.
When the meter stopped. So even though the property has irrigation and he verified that it has been used since 2017, from what he said, it's just not as much because it's no longer rented.
Right.
Would it make sense just for due diligence to, because it's a nice chunk of money to just pull up the electric bills We can get the electric bills from the electric company and just, verify that the usage on the electric bills is similar to what we would expect it would be if he hadn't rented out the house. Just
Would that be requesting from him, the owner, his electric
no,
bill?
you can request electric bill usage from the electric company itself. I don't know, Alan, has this happened before? This kind of thing? Is there a history that we can work off of?
I don't, in my time, we've never asked for electric bills. We usually come to resolve.
Okay.
He's on a 50-50 at this point. And you don't have to have anybody there, to use irrigation, things like that. So 75-25 maybe.
I mean, my only thought is our equipment failed and it wasn't caught, quickly. And how do we hold the homeowner accountable for, our equipment failing? I mean, Wellesley went back and tried to estimate as best as she could, but, we're looking at taking his word for it that it wasn't occupied. And I don't know, even if we pull the electric bill, I mean, that might prove that somebody was there a little bit longer than he's saying. Yeah. But again, how do we
You're right.
use that? I mean, all that's going to prove is that there was actually someone there. But again, how do we guesstimate how much water they're using?
Right. Is there some way
to try to be fair about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. Is there some way to, Wellesley, in the future, to make some kind of flag in the billing system if bills? So was it that the bill came in at 0 over that time, or of no water usage? Right.
See, that's sort of a tricky part of billing on the Cape. We have a lot of properties, right. A lot of properties under construction for a period of time. There are so many different variables. That's why we do an audit every so often, and we're actually aiming to audit a lot more. And now that we're doing quarterly billing, it's going to help us a lot more as well. So it is always going to be a moving target, and we try our very best to audit all, we're over 10,000 accounts now. So it is, a bit tricky and a moving target to try to find every single meter that might not be registering. They are very rare, but it does happen. And we would hope to rely somewhat on the customer when they start receiving a 0 usage bill, knowing that it's in use, to actually reach out to us before it, goes on for too long. Obviously, it shouldn't be up to them. It's up to us. It's our responsibility to make sure our equipment's working properly. But again, we try our best in monitoring over 10,000 accounts for every single meter, and that's why the audit comes in handy. So that's how this one was caught.
Well, on that note, what I would do then is to settle it with the 50-50 on it. To be fair all around, and there's just no way that I want to spend my time, searching up a customer's lifestyle and anything else over water, So at this point, what I would do is I would move 654.34 be paid.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. Okay. It'll get better, with the quarterly billing, for sure. All right. Next up is 745 Main Street.
Alan, I believe we have the resident of 745 Main Street on the line. If you would
Let's see.
If they are on, if they can unmute themselves by hitting *6 if they're dialed in on the phone.
Hello?
It appears the caller is self-muted, so maybe you were not muted previously. If you could try *6 again.
Hi, this is Rebecca Allen. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we got you.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning to you all.
Seems that you're in a tough situation there with the house afloat.
What's that?
You said it looks like you're in a tough situation with the house afloat.
Yeah, that's what it looks like according to this water bill, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a part that was damaged between the water line that kind of came from the road before it came into the house. And so the water was going directly back into the soil. And I got a call from the water department about the water meter not being able to be read for, I'm not too sure for how long, I can't remember. But that they wanted to go in to switch the water meter because it was an older water meter. And so I arranged for that to happen, I think within about 5 days of the call. And I don't live on the property full time. My mom, I'm from Eastham, and my mom helps me manage the property when I'm not here. And so she came over when the water department was here to switch out the meter. And when they came to switch out the meter, they discovered there was this leak that was going on underneath the house. And as soon as they were here, they turned off the water. And within days, I had a plumber come fix the part, and everything was back to normal. But during that time, I mean, I don't know how long it was leaking. And then I did talk to the water department about what would it mean to my bill a couple of days after the department was there. And I was told that I couldn't get a particular estimate. They were not sure how much was used. And then I got the bill, and you can, by the amount it is, you can base that I almost hit the floor, and I'm a little scared about this payment. So it's over $10,000.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in, I would say. My fellow commissioners, what's your thought?
So this is Gary Kerr, one of the water commissioners. So Dan, it looks like the leak was between the house and the road.
And the caller may be able to clarify as well. My understanding, I believe, if there's 2 Cape Cod cellars, and the meter is located, I believe, in the first one that's underneath the front entrance to the house, and it's completely separate from the other basement, as I understand it. Please, okay. Rebecca, jump in if any of that's incorrect.
Yeah, there's 2 Cape Cod basements, that's correct. One that has our electrical panel in it. I thought the water meter was over there, but I could be wrong. We've only owned this property for, I think, about 5 years now. And then there's another Cape cellar that's right in the entryway, and that's where the leak was.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
So it was just at the start of our house. So basically we have a driveway. We're the property right next to the library, and so the driveway, the water access goes from obviously you guys know the road to the house, and the leak was right at the start of the house. Like it was this part, I think it was called a manifold. I'd have to look at the plumber report of what was fixed, but it's a fairly large part. We had to replace. And I think it's the connection from the Harwich water line into the house, basically. That's what was cracked and leaking.
So the water did go through the meter, and then the leak was beyond the meter, between the meter and the second Cape Cod basement?
No.
I would have to look at where the water meter is. I'm not too sure about that. I don't know.
It's a pressure regulator that's on the water line right after the meter on the house side.
Okay.
That valve went.
I mean, just myself looking at this bill, my stomach is in knots for you. I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, we've done things in the past to try to help people with the payment. Unfortunately, I mean, and this is just my thoughts on this. The bill has to be paid by someone. And by all means, we don't expect you to pay us $10,000 up front. We've done payment plans. We've done, you know, a lien on the property. So after you sell the home or whatever, we can, you know, maybe recap those funds then. But believe me, I feel terrible that, you know, this has happened to you and your family. I mean, it's a horrible bill to be looking at. I mean, I don't know what I would do myself looking at a bill like this. But I don't know what, you know, Alan and Judith are thinking as well.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. It's awful. That's why the insurance that's available for these kind of things is so important for people to look at.
I mean, even if we did go half, I mean, you're still looking at a $5,000 water bill. I mean, that's a huge amount of money. I mean, I don't really want to put that kind of pressure on the homeowner to try to come up with those kind of funds, especially in you know, in what we're dealing with, you know, in this time. I mean, you know, if everyone be, you know, on board as far as maybe, and the homeowner as well, to put a lien so that it could be paid off down the road, you know, once the property's sold or at some other point. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I mean, I just, it's an outrageous amount of money right now. I mean, in any time of the year, but especially with what's going on right now.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of income this is a rental property for us so that we can be close to our family off season, and we can't rent this season, obviously with COVID. So we're out an expensive amount of money for that as well. But I mean, none of this water was used. I don't know that goes into consideration. I mean, you can look for my previous bills like you did for the previous homeowner. And we normally get like an $80 bill or a $123 bill. You know, that's our normal water.
Yeah, that's very obvious that, you know, this was an unfortunate, you know, incident. But again, unfortunately, the previous situation was our equipment failed, and it was hard to estimate, you know, really what, you know, the homeowner owed on that particular situation. You know, unfortunately, the water did go through your meter. It was recorded, and even though, you know, it wasn't used in a faucet or irrigation or tub or whatever, it still, you know, had gone through the system. What are your thoughts on doing a lien and, you know, making the payment, you know, at a later date? Is that something?
I would have to talk to my husband about it. I don't know if there's a way that I could have time to do that. He's currently watching our 1-year-old daughter.
Right.
Alan, may I?
Yes, by all means.
Thank you. This is Leslie. The options, we've actually never really kind of discussed a lien before for abatements, but we have offered, you know, payment plans and, you know, for long term, if, you know, the board would be in favor of that and the homeowner. So I just want to kind of throw that out there rather than the lien approach. The lien is sort of like a last kind of option for homeowners, but if they choose to do that, that's, you know, certainly their decision. But we would offer, or we have offered long-term plans in the past for homeowners for situations with large bills.
And that would be obviously no penalties, no fines, no late fees, and just what the bill is right now.
Correct.
I'm sorry, Alan.
Yeah.
Just another thought too. I'm just trying to come up with some way to, to deal with this, especially for the homeowner. I'm assuming the almost 2 million gallons was at the highest tier.
Yep.
Yeah, everything beyond that first 0815 that
cutoff
would be all at the highest tier. Yeah.
So what if we did a lower tier for the amount of water used, and see what that number would be? Dan, what would that number be? You have any idea?
Yeah, so if all the usage, the 1.839 was billed at the lowest tier with the base rate, would be $2,407.
That covers the cost of the electricity.
Treating it.
I'm sorry, what was that, Dan?
Yeah, I was jumping on with Alan there that pumping it and treating it and does account for all the gallons that went through the meter.
How about if we were to 50-50 this?
And the payment plan?
Yep.
Is the homeowner still on?
I am. I'm just being quiet to let you guys discuss.
So, Alan brought up going 50-50, getting the bill down to 5,000, and setting up a payment plan with the department, obviously with no interest, no penalties, payment that you feel is reasonable for whatever length of time, just to help you with the burden of this outrageous bill. I don't know if that's another option yet you'd be interested in.
Mm-hmm. And the lower tier rate that you guys discussed is not an option for you guys?
The problem is that we're just shifting the burden of someone else's problems to the rest of the ratepayers. All that is what it costs us to get a gallon of water up. But it doesn't talk about treatments and all the support staff and everything else that goes into that gallon. So that's why I say 50-50. It really probably makes us, get by. But, yeah, the water department strictly operates on revenue it receives our pumps. We have to cut back on what we do as far as maintenance or whatever if we're not getting the revenue that we need. So that makes it tough, and we've tried to move away and have homeowners take more responsibility for their plumbing and their irrigation, outdoor showers that freeze up, and we're just taking a harder track on this because it just doesn't seem to go away. Admittedly, you had no control. You probably wouldn't have seen this because no way that you can go down into the basement. I fully understand. I know the house completely. It's a tough situation to be in. Feel for it.
Especially it's a tough situation to be in, and it's a tough time to be in this situation too. So that's what I'm just trying to. Again, this bill at any time, even if we weren't dealing with COVID-19 right now, is a horrible bill to be looking at. And again, if I had to look at a bill like that, I mean, I don't know what I would do. So, I mean, I'm just trying. I know the bill, the water has to be accounted for. It has to be paid. And I certainly don't want to put the burden off to others. But I don't know, maybe could we do 3,000? Get $600 more than the 24. I mean, I don't know.
I could go with that.
I'll support that too.
And again, Alan, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, we can't continue to give water away. We have bills we have to pay as well. I mean, I totally agree with you on that. But you know, not knowing the economy as it is right now. I mean, I don't know. It's just, you know, it's just a tough situation to be in right now.
Why don't we go with 3407? 3,407.
Okay.
But that, how does that sound to you all?
$3,407.
Yep.
Can I ask you how you get that number?
I didn't. I added $1,000 to Dan's, you know, cover some of the overhead.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, all right. I can go with that.
Judy?
That's equitable.
Okay. So there's a yes for you, Gary, and a yes for you, Judith?
Yes.
It's an aye for me, you know, obviously with the stipulation that we allow the homeowner to set up the a payment plan with the department that they feel is you know
Workable.
economical and payable, you know, at this time.
Okay. Okay. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Is the customer still on? Yeah.
I am still here.
Yeah. So here's where we're at. We're going to go with $3,407 on this. But I can't say, I can't emphasize enough that you need to have a plumber in there because there's no second chance on this. If it's something, let's go. The plumbing's probably been in there since the 40s when they started plumbing houses on Cape Cod. My advice is to make sure everything's shipshape because we're just not doing this. Okay?
Okay, I understand and I appreciate you guys working to get the prices equitable as possible. So I do appreciate that and the payment plan as well. Yes, we did have a plumber go in and fix the issue, and we will look at if there's any other potential risks for that area. I'm considering how old this house is. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Well, good luck.
Good luck.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. All right.
Wow.
All right, the next item is 12 Union Street. This, Wellesley, you on?
Yes, here.
We're on 12 Union Street.
Yeah, so this is a seasonal account that we have, and the homeowner was having some work done at his property, and due to COVID, he was not present on site, so only his contractor was there. So he wasn't there to observe, you know, the work being performed. And when the contractor was doing that work, he removed our lockbox that allows us in to turn the water back on for the season. When we went over to turn it back on with the request, we could not access the property because the box was missing. So when we have to have an extra service call to a property, we do have what's called a missed appointment fee for various reasons. We didn't know at the time the situation, so access was provided after that was discovered, and we went back to turn the water on. The homeowner then subsequently called us to let us know why the lockbox wasn't there due to the contractor removing it. And it has since been corrected for future visits. So he's asking for an abatement for the extra service call to his property.
Yeah, we're just giving money away today, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't understand why the contractor didn't flag something on his deck to the owner. I don't know. Alan, what are you thinking there? See.
It's not my problem.
Yeah, I think he should send that $50 bill to the contractor.
I agree, Joyce. Motion denied.
Second.
Moved and seconded to deny the request. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion denied. All right. That was the hard part. All right. We're going to old unfinished business. And the first item on the list is rules and regulations. And we just want to have an update, of the process and what progress and what's going on, as well as on the water rates. So, Dan, if you want to hit the highlights and just kind of bring the board up to date, would be good.
Yeah, so pre-COVID-19, as you all remember, I'm sure, we're working on the rules and regs as well as exploring water rates for a potential rate increase. I believe at our last meeting, we had worked through all sections of the rules and regulations, and we're circling back to get into irrigation meters for sewer customers, and there was talk of some formal abatement policy for the Water Commission. At the time when we began this process, we were looking at water rates as well, looking at next year's budget and the capital plan. And the objective was, if we were going to have to hold a public hearing and invite the public in to do a rules and regs or a water rate, that we should review both of them. And I did, after the last meeting we had back in March prior to COVID go through, we had with the water rates, which was included in the packet. There was another scenario that the commission had asked me to put together, which was a scenario that allowed us to collect enough revenue to meet the revenue goal, ultimately, as the other ones that we were exploring weren't sufficient. So in the packet, which again, I think that the topic of a rate increase is likely on pause in the short term here with COVID and the economic uncertainty. However, when we do start to move forward and think about a rate increase, this scenario in the packet does achieve that goal, which is, this first 3 years, if we were going with this, it was FY21 to FY23 or 24 with a 2.5% annual increase and a base rate increase of $8 to $43. And you'll see that trend line, revenue goal and total revenue really mirroring each other all the way out until FY27, where they start to separate. So this was what I put together prior to COVID for discussion by the board, and that's kind of where we're at as of today.
Okay. Questions?
So,
yeah.
Sorry. So, Dan, as of right now, how long can we sustain without doing anything right now? I'm just trying to look at the. So the first chart I'm looking at is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, there was only, I believe, this one chart in this
right.
This packet, and we can circle back with the if we want to review all, I think we've run 4 or 5 other alternative rate structures at this point. You know, next year, your question more geared towards, you know, are we going to be okay next year if we don't do a rate increase?
Yes.
You know, as with, you know, likely every department, we're all looking at revenue from the most recent quarterly billing, as well as what we're going to be looking at next year. There hasn't been any directive yet from administration or otherwise. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback, I think from Gary, if I could mute you. Maybe? Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Sorry, there's a lot of birds chirping over there. Try to get back on track here. So there hasn't been any direct discussions yet about reviewing our next fiscal year's budget for reductions or potential reductions. However, it's certainly something that we're thinking about right now. You know, we've increased over the last couple of years our budget for things like water meters, right, to try to get that backlog. That's an area where we could conceivably cut back in the next fiscal year if we anticipate revenue shortfalls. So we're starting to look at that. The primary focus from administration to this point has been trying to get everything set up for town meeting, as that's kind of constantly evolving. In the town election, which is, I believe, we moved to the end of June. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, at this point, we've slowed down currently for this year already.
Yeah, and we're currently under a non-essential spending order. You know, so we've really cut back. The only expenses we've been making are, you know, essential items. We've been buying some safety supplies and, you know, some odds and ends. But we've really ramped everything down in anticipation of a reduced Q3 revenue. So just to try to scale everything back and avoid running deficits.
Okay.
And Alan, can I ask a question? Just, and Dan, just for clarity, so back in March, we had been looking to have a public meeting about this and possibly do a rate change starting July 1. Is that correct, if I'm remembering that correctly?
That's right. If we were going to go ahead with the rate and changes in policies, regs, we would hold a public hearing. But at this point, it looks like we're going to hold off on the rate increase, and we're going to continue to work on updating rules and regs so that when we can, we would hold a public hearing that people can attend and participate and do rate increases and rule changes. There's a lot of things that have just been status quo for a long time. And as we go along, you'll see what I mean. Stuff that's just been at a standstill and needs to, you know, come into the new world, as well as the sewer regs and separate meters. All of that stuff is on the table. So, and
procedurally, is it something that has to be done at the start of a fiscal year, or can it be done at different times during the year?
It can be done at different times. It's okay. Will be when we implement the need to implement the rate increases and stuff. We would have a public hearing prior to that, so that you know, when that happens. So I think right now this whole virus thing is just throwing everything out of whack.
Sure.
It's just put the brakes.
I just wanted to understand if it's a 1-year cycle for all of this, or if it can happen throughout the year if things improve.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and we can do it anytime. It's the rules are more surrounding the way in which we advertise it.
Okay.
So, I think to Alan's point, in this situation where, we could conceivably do one through a go-to meeting, I think something like this is better if we can adhere to social distancing and do something where people could be present. Right now, especially with COVID and the unknown economic future, there's no immediate need to jump right on it. So I think we can afford to give it the time it needs to allow people to be able to be there in person and participate.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, Gary, you good?
I am.
Okay. All right. So let's move along. Next item on the agenda is the fiscal year 20 budget report. Who's presenting that?
I can start. I thought Sandy was going to jump in. It looks like she's on a call at the moment, so I will jump in. So as you'll see through the budget report, our indirect expenses have all been fully expended this year. Salary and wages at 82%. We are just under that with our expense account. And if you look at the last page of the packet, you'll see revenue versus total expenses. So there's a little light here that the total revenue is 3.96 million and total expenses of 3.6 million. So, I had concerns for sure as COVID, not knowing the impacts and what we were going to receive for revenue. I think as we continue to run Lien through the end of the fiscal year here, that we're not going to find ourselves in a position where we need to transfer anything from retained earnings or anything like that. So I would say we have a positive outlook at this point.
Good. Any questions? No, you're good?
Yes. Yeah, I'm good.
Next is next amp, two-thirds solar update.
Yeah, I had included in the packet a correspondence from Liz Argo from CVEC. The original witness test for Eversource was originally intended to take place in March. That was pushed out due to COVID. As of my last correspondence with them Wednesday, the contractor is still actively working with Eversource to reschedule the witness test. But the solar array is built and ready to go. It's just a waiting game with Eversource now. But I believe they were expecting or hoping to be able to get it witness tested by the end of the month this month. So we should be seeing a reduction in our electric costs or revenue as a result of that in the coming months.
Okay.
Do any idea what the revenue will be on that, Dan?
I don't have it off the top of my head. What I'll do is go back and look at the original tables and forward those around. I know Liz had prepared something when we initiated this process, probably well over a year now ago. So I'll go back and pull those projections and distribute them.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Moving right along. Next item is billing update. Leslie, go on.
Yes, so just a very brief update on billing. As you know, we had our April quarter, and that was actually the first one run remotely. So it went relatively smoothly, and then we had, for the first time, the extension for the due date to June 15th. So hopefully that will help our customers out a little bit to stretch their money a little bit further for a little bit longer. But I just wanted to let you know that it all went well, and hopefully soon we'll be able to start scheduling appointments again to get meters back on track, so that we can get all of the meters that need attention out of our system, so that we can be sure that everything is as it should be. But everything is going well.
Just out of curiosity, about how many meters are left to be changed out, updated?
Sandy, I'm not sure if you're on, but I know for the last straggling ARB plugins, we have, I believe, 3 left in the system, but those are on hold until those properties can get new water services, because they are extremely fragile and in a very poor state. So we can't actually change those meters at the moment. As far as meter change outs, I believe we still have a few thousand, I believe, a couple thousand maybe. And we are still changing based on age. So we're still focusing on that 15-year older target. So we're looking forward to getting that back up and running as soon as it's safe to do so.
Okay, sounds good.
And just to note, Alan, if I may, with regard to the Q3 billing in the packet is, as of May 20th, we've collected 50.35% of this third quarter bill. So that due date again is pushed out to June 15th. So we're I would say on pretty good track.
I paid my bill, Dan.
Thank you.
I did too. I did too. I love the texting system.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't want Wellesley putting a lien on my house.
Real quick, just as a quick last note, Alan, if I may.
Yes, by all means.
I have noticed that registrations online are up quite a bit, which is fantastic. That's one thing that we've been really hoping to achieve a lot more of, so that our customers have more options for paying remotely and automatically, and scheduling payments and so forth. So that's a good sign. And also with the addition of the texting feature, which is we're getting good feedback on. Thank you, Judith.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's great.
Whatever makes it easier for our customers. Thank you.
If everyone's on a screen here, if I may, what I'd like to do is share my screen. I also put together just a couple of line graphs just for 2019 versus 2020. I have a monthly pumping volume comparison and a year-to-date comparison. So if you bear with me here for a moment.
Don't need to get fancy with your computer skills, Dan.
Let's see. All right. I don't know if you can see it, but let me know if you can. So this is the 2019 versus 2020 monthly pumping volume. So we are trending higher than we were this last year. And I would say we're right in between where we were last year in those peak years, 2015 and 16, which I a little surprised by. I guess I am and I'm not. You know, I didn't know what sort of impact the lack of commercial and restaurant usage was going to impact in the spring, or if it was going to be noticeable. And it looks like, all things considered, the water volumes have not been impacted to any great extent due to COVID. And then just let me hop over to this one. So this is our year-to-date comparison. So you can see that red line, which is 2020, starting to break away from where we were at last year in 2019.
So don't you think there's just more people at home, all day type of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's people that work out of town, having them home is probably certainly gonna add to that regular daily usage. And to remember, it's been dry the last few days, but it was real wet there for a while.
But we also have a lot more people here a lot earlier too. Yeah, I think
we saw a big influx, in March, and people trying to come down, when the lockdowns started coming into place around Northeast. So seasonals came early this year, for sure.
Yeah, it's, when you have a nice place, sitting quietly, and away from the crowds, you just have to come down, All right. Anything else, Dan?
On that topic, I am good.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. Next item up is upcoming superintendent's evaluation. Who's Sandy? Are you available?
Hi, Alan and the board. Good morning. This is Sandy, comptroller at the Water Department. Since Dan's evaluation, or the superintendent evaluation, last year, there was talk about changing the evaluation form, and that hasn't been completed or been underway during this time. And now, as we're approaching his evaluation, do you want to look to use another form or stay with the one that was used last year? Number one. And number two, we also have that internal feedback form for our staff, which I can distribute and get to you as long as we're not going to make changes to it. Dan's evaluation date is July 1st. So we have another meeting or two, but it's on the agenda for, you to move forward on it at some level.
Yeah, Gary, you had some thoughts on that the last time.
Sandy, what is the town using for evaluation forms now? Have they changed their evaluation forms?
Not that I'm aware of. The same evaluation form is still in place. There was talk over the past, year or two. There's been talk even amongst the selectmen at some of their meetings about changing the form.
Right.
But that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. I think that the employee evaluation form is okay as is, right? I mean, I didn't think we had any changes that were brought up that didn't apply to the inside employees that I can remember.
Yeah, that's correct. I think you guys have made changes, tweaked it a bit the past few years. So I think that's good to go, and I can pass that around to at least get those moving along, so you can get that information back.
That'd be good.
I have the evaluation forms prepped from last year, so it's just updating the date and Dan's step, and I can email you your individual copy of that, and keep this on the agenda for next meeting too.
I know we had the evaluation emailed to us last year as well, but I couldn't access it or add to it for some reason.
It's the form is in Microsoft Excel, which is a little strange for an evaluation form. You would think it would be like in a Word document. So I was thinking, if we are going to use that, if we could keep the same content, but I could make it more user-friendly for you guys to type into. If you wanted to do it electronically or write into, it can be made a lot more user-friendly than it is.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the form as it is anyway.
Yeah.
But especially with the way...
Yeah,
I know. But especially the way things are right now. I mean, if we could do it electronically and we all could, fill it out, online, I think that'd be easier.
Okay, so I will, I will put this into a more user-friendly document that you can do electronically if, you want to do that. And then what happened last year and in past years is each of you fill out an evaluation form, and then it's a copy is shared with each one of you. So then you put together sort of, I think, a master. It's been a little, it's not clean, but then of the three of yours, you put together a master, and then that goes with Dan's completion of it, and it goes forward to the town administrator's office with his personnel action form.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
The next item is reorganize the Board of Water Commissioners. It's that time of year again. What's your pleasure? Gary?
Judith?
Huh?
So, Alan, is there anyone, are you the sole candidate for water commissioner?
Yeah, on the ballot, yes.
Yeah, okay. I would respectfully, since the transition with the wastewater is not happening until this coming year. Gary, if you are amenable, I would request that Alan remain chair, and maybe you and I can switch again so that you're vice. Just consistency as we switch into the water situation.
Right. Well, in years past, we've all taken a turn, chair. Is that something you're not interested in doing, Judith?
I just, I said last year, I think I'm using the same rationale that I used last year, that we had anticipated that would be happening this year, and it didn't. I think given the challenges, Alan's been here the longest, and I think it would just be good for the public outreach piece that he remain chair, if you're amenable to that, for this next year as we transition into this dual role.
Well, for me,
if he would like to, maybe he wouldn't like to.
I don't mind doing it, but I want you guys to participate too. And you guys are a lot younger than I am. One day I'm not going to show up, and you need to harden up,
Listen, I'm more than happy to do it. I mean, we've always alternated, taken turns. I have no problem doing it. I enjoy doing it. I know it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort, and I think it's a nice change to have each of us take the lead and take our turn to do it. So.
Well, that's what it's always been. So what I would like to see is Gary take it this year, and then we'll get you a little more training under the belt, Judith, and your turn will show up, But
that works for me. That's fine. I don't want to come into this next year with,
No, Gary does a good job. He's done it already, so we need to keep him sharp.
Okay.
So it'd be good. So we'll. I nominate Gary for chair in the coming fiscal year.
I will second that.
I moved and seconded, and all those in favor? Aye.
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 Gary? Okay.
Unanimous? Now, Gary, so what we'll do is 1st of July, you take over. Start the fiscal year.
Is it July? Dan, what's the date on it?
It will be July 1st, will be the new fiscal year.
July 1st, okay.
All right? So we probably won't have any more meetings until then. So,
okay.
At this point. All right. Okay. Now, superintendent's report.
Yeah, so I just, as we, I've been sharing things via email just with the recent, the guidance documents as they're evolving and coming out for COVID-19, but just wanted to formally just make you guys aware, of our current status. The town buildings are still presently closed to the public. However, staff has resumed. We're back at full staff and preparing the facility to receive the public. We did install the plexiglass screen in the front of the office. We do have a PPE, I don't want to call it a stockpile, but we have a PPE reserve. We just received a federal shipment of 70 reusable cloth masks from the federal government. We've also, have a healthy supply of Lysol disinfectant, sanitizer, and we got gloves coming as well. So everyone's been outfitted as far as PPE. I do want to look into procuring some of I'm sure you've seen people wearing them. They're kind of like the turtleneck face covering mask things that are stretchy. They're a little bit better.
Like a gator?
Yeah, exactly. So that was looking to get something more permanent and friendly for field staff as well, because the 70 masks from the federal government are white and will probably last all of 5 minutes in a trench. So that's something the guys are comfortable wearing. So that's kind of where we're at today. I don't know if you guys had any specific questions relative to COVID-19 or how the department's been operating or anything outside of correspondence we've shared through email.
All the employees are healthy, right?
Yeah, everyone, no reported cases in the department. I mean, everyone's, doing their best to maintain social distance whenever possible. All town employees are required to wear masks, when social distancing, it can't be met. So trying to keep one person to a truck, all those precautions.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions? You good? Yeah. Barry, you good?
Just two questions. Dan, you went out and picked up some PPE supplies, right? And passed those out around town?
Yeah, well, I was working with Mass DEP and EPA to help facilitate delivering the federal shipment to the Massachusetts water suppliers. It turned out when the shipment came in, they actually were able to bring it directly to Barnstable, but I was in conversations with EPA and DEP for a couple of weeks there as we were trying to facilitate scheduling dispersal of the masks. It was kind of a grassroots thing. A number of water suppliers, Harwich, Barnstable, in the Cape, and Brewster, and then there was, I think, Springfield, Worcester, Southborough, a couple of the bigger MWRA systems. Kind of made it all pull together. So,
well, I just want to thank you for stepping up and trying to help out and get those supplies out there. I appreciate that.
That, and another thing that, we kind of jumped on, which has kind of been disbanded, but the department, through Sandy, did participate in Mass Waterworks as well. They sent out created a kind of a task force group as far to establish things relative to revenue and finance tracking and things like that, which ultimately resulted in producing a white paper to share with all the water suppliers in the state as we navigate COVID moving forward, for financial tracking and expensing for emergency procurement and things like that. So we're trying to stay engaged.
Awesome, that's great. Thank you, and thanks again. Just the other thing was, do you all see in the packet the letter from what do they call themselves? Well, it's from Patrick Otten about the plantings over on Bay, is it Bay Road?
Yep.
Well, I first saw a thing on Facebook from Harwich Old Timers that it actually had gone to the point where they're doing the plantings and waterings, and I just feel like we kind of dropped the ball on that. I didn't really think we had made a vote or a decision as to where we stood or what we're going to do with that.
I thought we had taken a vote, no?
Go ahead, Dan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I went back through the minutes. I have one of the recordings to listen to. So they've come before the board, I believe, twice to do separate presentations, both involving Eversource. The first one, I believe they presented the project, and then a second time they came back regarding, they were bringing in, flying somebody in to do a Food Forest Initiative workshop seminar. And they came back, and I know they had asked about that there was questions about liability, insurance or anything like that. At that point, I did reach out to administration to get clearance per the board's request, and administration didn't have any concerns at the time regarding the liability of them doing that seminar on the property. And then this really all kind of came to a head right in the beginning of March when Eversource took the reins and provided, I want to say about $10,000 worth of plantings. And that correspondence showed up in the inbox, I believe it was the beginning of March. And to be honest, we had not had the opportunity to have a meeting between the time in which Eversource had placed the planting order and COVID happening. The plantings are on Eversource's easement through the, I don't know if it's the north or east west side of Bay Road. It's the opposite side of the road is our well field. So those went in, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. And when they did reach out about the plantings, they did submit a work plan to myself and the health director advising how they were going to adhere to the COVID-19 guidance documents as far as installation and managing their workforce, having proper safety protocols. I know this is a big thing for Eversource as well. They've been really the driving player on this, them partnered with the Food Forest Initiative. So it's, and there is a significant benefit, in my opinion, to this. I just want to highlight, one of the biggest benefits the water department's getting is expanding the area in which Eversource won't be using their herbicide spray. So there's a mandated area, close to the well field, and this is a pilot study through Eversource and the Food Forest Initiative folks to make that a living garden that they won't have to come in and spray herbicide and mechanically chop everything down.
I definitely think it's a win-win for Harwich, for the water department, and for Eversource. I mean, it's just a great example of how the three different entities can come together and make something really great happen. I just felt like they came and we had a discussion about what they saw as a plan, and then the next thing I saw was actually completed on Facebook, and I just didn't know it had gone to that point. And plus, again, I know this all came through with the pandemic, and we hadn't had a meeting, and I would say other things took priority, over that because of everyone's health and getting water turned on. But again, I think it's a great thing for all of us involved. So yeah, it's just something I wanted to bring up and have a discussion about, because I wasn't sure if Alan and Judith had seen that on Old Timers or where that was happening.
No, I didn't. I didn't know anything about it. but I have to take a positive side to it because the last time Eversource came, they came to talk about spraying, spraying around the field, what have you. And I went out on that, and I like this. This is kind of unheard of for Eversource to be planting trees instead of cutting them down.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I really do.
I hope they do it all across the Cape.
Well, especially around well fields. I mean,
Yeah.
you take, when you do stuff like that, that's, to me, is very positive. So,
Yep.
Excellent spot. So,
That's all I had.
yeah, okay. All right, Dan, that was the next item, so that pretty well took care of that. Commissioners, do you have anything to offer up?
I do not.
All right, Judith, you good?
I'm good.
All right.
Oh, one, if I may jump in real quick.
Yeah.
With the reorganization of the board, there was a motion for Gary to become the chair, vice chair, clerk.
Yeah. Chair July 1st.
Is there
Vice chairman?
motion for a vice chairman
Judith?
for clerk?
Judith?
Judith?
Alan, so make a motion, make you vice chair, or?
Like I told you guys last year, I do whatever. It's easier for me these days, but I like I said before, it's time. You guys need to step up. If you don't have the time, and Gary's going to take care of things, so I don't have to worry about being vice.
All right, then I make a motion to nominate Alan as clerk.
I'll make a motion to nominate Judith as vice chair.
And I'll second all of that.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's it. All right.
Well done.
All right. Yeah. Anything else for the commissioners? Nope. No? Judith, you're good. Dan, anything else?
Sure. I'm good.
All right. Next item is the next meeting. So we just play it by ear to be decided?
It'll have to be prior to July 1st for Dan's evaluation.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you want to just put that on hold for next year too because of COVID. I'm just kidding, Dan. I'm just kidding.
Whatever's in the best interest of the town, Gary. You know that.
I got to look at some dates here.
Yeah, I just can't open my calendar. I think tentatively, like the third week of June, is that what we're looking at? Roughly?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. So the third week in June would be 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Okay. I'm working off my phone and I can't open my calendar without losing you guys. So can we confirm?
Do you want to just have Tracy do an email out to everybody and we can do some dates?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, let's do that. That would be the best.
All right.
Yeah, that's for the next. Okay, that's great. Public wanting to speak up there?
Before let me just double check. I do not have anyone else in my inbox.
Okay, all right. So a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll make a motion. A second?
All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Gary?
All right, everyone have a good Memorial Day weekend. Be safe.
Okay.
All right.
Same to
Yeah,
you.
stay safe.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.